is not the intro song we want to start off with. Here we go.
I have 2 shotguns at my home. They're locked in a safe. There's a metal gun case. We live in an area that's wooded, somewhat secluded. And I've said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony and fire 2 blasts outside the house. Buy a shotgun. Buy a shotgun. You don't need a machine gun. You don't need 30 rounds. Buy a shotgun. Buy a double barrel shotgun.
No, you don't need a flamethrower, and you don't need a tank. You don't need an AR-15 to scare those thugs away. No, and I don't need a grenade launcher. I don't need an F-15. There's just one thing I need to do, and they'll stay away from me.
Fire 2 blasts outside the house. Buy a shotgun.
Buy a shotgun.
Buy a shotgun.
Jill, buy a shotgun, baby.
How is everybody doing? Welcome in. Monday night. The weekend went quick, did it not? I hope you guys had a good weekend. Hopefully you guys got to spend some good time with some family members and really got to enjoy the weekend. Now, not necessarily did everyone around the world, so that's why I hope that you did. And so tonight we got a couple topics. It's going to be a little bit of a shorter night, so I will open up the call-in line if you guys want to call in. Finally a scope that matters. Wow, honored. Thank you. We have quite a bit to cover today. At the same time, there's still it's not as much as what we normally do. So a lot to cover, a lot to get through. But I'm gonna rely on you guys. If you guys want to call in tonight, feel free. You want to call into the beard, talk about whatever. It doesn't matter. If I'm not covering that topic, you think I need to cover it, you want to enlighten the group, feel free to call in later on in the show. If this is your first time here, my name is Jason Lyon, Mr. America, the Bearded Truth. I am brought to you guys, and I'm very thankful for them, by Muddy Waters Media. Muddy Waters Media is a fantastic company that allows me a platform to reach out to you, giving you my views, my opinions, and my perspective on things. So thank you to Muddy Waters Media for allowing me this opportunity. Thank you for joining in tonight if this is your first time here. Thank you for of course the continual support, for all those retweets, the shares, for the overwhelming support. It does it makes my days, makes my heart feel warm. But tonight we got to talk a little bit about Trump and the tariff war that's been going on with China. I think that the media has been ignoring that for the most part, and it's not to our benefit, not to the people's benefit. So we'll dive into that a little bit. We're also going to talk a little bit about the wrap up of Barr, the Mueller investigation, and putting out the information and everything there. Of course, Nadler himself, he's upset about this. He just didn't get his way, so Jerry Nadler has to make a grandstand. We'll cover that. Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton both make the news with some comments that they've been making, and I think Nancy Pelosi certainly needs a little pushback, or I wouldn't even say pushback, just a little sunshine over that topic. And then we're also going to talk about what's going on over there in Venezuela. Apparently, Maduro doesn't like the hashtag fake news, and he's kicked out CNN, so we'll get into that a little bit. And then, of course, we can't miss the big bombings, the big attacks happening over there in the Middle East, over there in Israel, and Gaza. So we will cover all of that and then some. So welcome in, everyone. It is Monday, May 6th. And if it's your birthday today, if you had a child today, if you had some big celebration today that you wanted to really just spread the news on and get all kinds of crazy support, I am sorry. But the Duchess of Sussex, she popped out a kid today. That's right. We have to stop the news, stop the press. Everyone has to focus in because there's a new baby in town and your baby's not worth it. Your celebration is not worth it because we, once again, have to pay attention to what's going on across the pond from us over here in America. Much bigger stories there, of course. I'm really not gonna spend any time on that because last time that America cared about what's going on across the pond was 1776, and we told them exactly how we felt then. And for some of us, opinions haven't changed. So let's get in. First, start off a topic I didn't even cover in the preamble there. Allow some more people to join in. But over there in Denver, Colorado, you know, one of the first states coming out there and endorsing recreational marijuana. They are pushing bigger and better things, if you will, depending on which way you think of bigger or better. But Denver votes on decriminalizing magic mushrooms tomorrow. So tomorrow, one of the first two states to legalize recreational marijuana, now Denver, the state's largest city, might be about to score another victory against the war on drugs. That's right, the war that has incarcerated and destroyed families, torn apart the nuclear family that so many of us care about, have torn people away from them. And now, tomorrow, on a vote on Initiative 301, which will effectively decriminalize the adult possession and the use, of magic mushrooms in the city. No person should face severe criminal penalties for possessing a mushroom, says Kevin Matthews, campaign manager for the Denver Initiative, the office campaign for Initiative 301. People can really lose their jobs, their livelihoods, and their families for something that occurs naturally. That's right, boys and girls. If you got something growing under your beds, if you got it growing in your closets, just move to Denver, and if Initiative 301 passes, you'll be right as rain, and you won't have to worry about facing criminal prosecutions just because you're a little sloppy with how you clean. But yes, trying to end the war on possession crime, something that is near and dear to my heart. All right, so let's get into the bigger and better topics. William Barr. Let's get into this real quick. So today, 9 o'clock in the morning, we finally had the deadline for when William Barr was going to be required to break the law or be held in contempt of Congress. Jerry Nadler, who was upset at the ways that the Mueller report was redacted by William Barr, has now said that you're going to give us everything. Every single word, unredacted. If you're going to redact something, then you're not worthy of not being held in contempt. And so he's pushing for this. Now, it is against the law to release or to unredact the grand jury information. So Jerry Nadler is basically saying, look, break the law or we'll go after you. What a nice, kind, gentle soul. This is, of course, coming off of the basis that Democrats have been deranged. They've been obsessed with the Mueller investigation of what they thought the outcome would be. And when the Mueller outcome didn't come out the way that they wanted to, now they have to pivot. They have to find something else to go after. It's these little things where he's very specific on not, I wouldn't say very specific, but he was specific enough on why these things were being redacted that it's not good enough. And that's the damning information. That right there is the damning information that was going to get the coffin nailed in for Trump. And it really doesn't, it just shows just the level of intelligence that some of these people have. And this is coming from, let me see here. There's a comment in here. Nope. All right. I'm not finding the quote. I should have had that highlighted. I apologize. But nonetheless, basically there was a couple of members from the House Judiciary Committee that basically said Nadler is just begging him to break the law or to have the law be broken on him. And I think that's right. This is just the derangement. This is just them trying to exactly bully and to get whatever information that they can because they don't have enough information, because the information just isn't there. This is coming from somebody, right? I am somebody that said, let's go through the investigation. If he's guilty, he's guilty. Let's burn him at the stake. If he's innocent, let him be innocent. And within the within the Mueller report, Mueller had laid it out specifically, and he had said, look, there's not enough there really to charge him, but there may be some stuff there. And by just saying that, there's something that we need to realize. And this was something that the left liked to do, Democrats like to do when it came to the Hillary Clinton investigation where they actually pointed out actual crimes that were committed, but they said no honorable prosecutor would go after this, is that there is a presumption of innocence. So if there's not enough there to charge, then there's not enough there to charge. Mueller said it himself. So they're barking up trees. They're trying to get as much out there as they can. And can you blame them? The Democrats have been running on this for now 3 years. 3 years of running on this collusion stuff. 3 years of saying that president has been involved on this. Now, there are calls being made from the conservative side for when Mueller does testify on when did you know that there was no conspiracy? When did you know that there was no collusion? When did you know there was no cooperation between Trump and the Russian government or the Russian entities? When did you know that? Because they're hoping that they can just remove all of the excess charges that have come out from this. And I think that there's a little bit of a fallacy within that, because if we go back to Rod Rosenstein's authorization, Mueller. If we go back to Mueller's authorization letter, it says in there. So the first one is talking about actually looking for if there was any conspiracy between the two, right? Any links and or coordination between the Russian government and individuals associated with the campaign of President Donald Trump, right? If that was it, if that was the entire scope of what Robert Mueller was working on, then they would have something there. But the problem is the very next line. The very next line, any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation. Now, there is a constitutional argument there to say, look, there's a Fourth Amendment. And so you can't have an unlimited scope. You can't have you basically send the dogs out there and anything and everything that they can find is somehow now a valid investigation or valid in the way that it was obtained. You have to have an actual justified scope. You have to have a scope within the time, within the area, and the locations and everything else. And that's where the authorization should be challenged, but not the findings from the investigation, right? You go after the actual appointment letter, which was order number 3915 TAC 2017. You go after that. And then once you get that torn apart, once you tear that away, then you can move on and you can say, yes, now we get rid of all of the investigations that were fruit of the poisonous tree. Everything that came from this corrupt investigation from lines 2, then those become null and void. Now, I'm not for the people that committed wrongdoings and actually created victims. I have no problem with that. Somebody for evading taxes, I don't see that as a crime. I don't understand how that's a crime. Point to me the victim. Point to me the victim. If there's no victim, there's no crime. And so there are some people out there that they colluded. They worked with foreign entities in order to provide information, in order to work together, in order to provide information one way or the other. Sure, you can go after that. But saying somebody tried to get out of their taxes, I don't see you guys going after Bernie Sanders for deducting every penny of his taxes that he possibly can. I mean, the man is a closet capitalist, but he does what he does, and obviously he's pretty good at it for making it to becoming a millionaire by himself. He blames it on his book. I would say that it was more of the people selling his books than himself, but nonetheless. Mueller never said he wasn't innocent or guilty. You guys are running with he's innocent. Mike Blackbot, the point of that, though, is the presumption of innocence. Presumption of innocence when it comes to actually colluding or conspiring or working with the Russians, that was laid out very clearly in the Mueller report in Volume 1 of innocent. Volume 2 was getting into the conspiracy, or not in the conspiracy, into obstruction of justice. And even within that, they said that there wasn't enough there. There just wasn't enough there. And so he basically said, here you go, DOJ, if you guys want to find something. And DOJ also said, look, there's not enough there. And so understanding the way the presumption of innocence, the judicial system works, that's just the way that's going to unfold every time. If there's not enough there in order to get a grand jury to settle without or beyond a reasonable doubt, if you don't have enough there, then presumption of innocence applies, right? It's not presumption of guilt. It's not presumption of my gut feeling says you're guilty, so therefore you're guilty. And that's kind of where they're failing right now on that. But we will continue on. So on 2 days ago, so on Saturday, Nancy Pelosi made some headlines. Just because it's a victimless crime doesn't mean it's illegal. Yes, I agree. Illegality versus morality are two different things, right? There's plenty of things that were legal, that were completely immoral, that should have been illegal. And I think that you and I would both agree that slavery should have never been illegal, or should have never been legal. I apologize. Slavery should have never been legal. Internment camps for Japanese people during World War II, that should have never been a thing, but that was legal. And so you get down into this argument where you say they're just doing their jobs. Right? The Nazi soldiers were just doing their jobs, and they were just killing people. They were just putting people into the showers and letting them die, screaming and suffering. They were just doing their jobs. No worries, guys. They were just doing their jobs. Legality doesn't mean a damn. Let me be honest with you. Legality doesn't mean a damn thing. Because if you work on the presumption of legality, all it takes is just a simple majority of whoever's in control to say, let's make this a crime. Tomorrow they say, it's illegal for you to speak out. It's illegal for you to speak out against us. Now, there's no victim to you just speaking out and saying whatever you want to say, but it would be illegal. And so they're just doing their jobs. It's this failed logic that I hope that as a society we can become more civilized and realize if there's no victim, why is there a crime? Why is it illegal for somebody to do something of their own free will? But nonetheless, we'll progress on. Nancy Pelosi made some news this weekend. First off, she's still in agreement with herself from before, which she does not believe that President Trump can be removed and should not be sought to be removed through the impeachment process. She understands that there is a Republican majority in the Senate, and therefore any attempts would just be futile. It would rile up people, it would get people angry. Now, that's why we have laws then. What? No, you just said, what? No, you're fine, but you say that's why we have laws, but if the laws make something illegal, but it's not right, then it's not a just law. Law is supposed to be just. So anyways, she has a stance here which just shows you the concern of politicians, of your normal politician. People will oftentimes change their stances. If we remember all the way back to the WikiLeaks release during the 2016 election, where Hillary Rodham Clinton herself was saying one thing in front of the public and another in front of private bankers, where her stances were changing, where she's open borders here, she's more in favor of closed borders here, where she's in favor of this, where she's in favor of that. She was willing to flip-flop. And so what Nancy Pelosi believes is that the Democrats have to win by a margin so big that he being Donald Trump, cannot challenge the legitimacy of a Democratic victory. That's what she's hoping for. Now, if we look out there into the realm of who is running, and how they're running and what they're doing, nobody's doing what she wants to, but they're running more of an honest campaign than what she's advocating for. Now, what she says, she offered Democrats her cold-blooded plan for decisively ridding themselves of Mr. Trump, of Mr. President Trump. Yeah? Do not get dragged into a protracted impeachment bid that will ultimately get crushed in the Republican-controlled Senate. And do not risk alienating the moderate voters who flocked to the party in 2018 by drifting too far to the left. Own the center-left. Own the mainstream, Ms. Pelosi says. Our passions were for healthcare, bigger paychecks, cleaner government, a simple message. I can, with those three things, you know what you can do in order to get those things, and it's completely divergent of what the Democrats are advocating for. If you want to fix healthcare, get the government out of it. You want bigger paychecks? Get the government out of your paycheck. You want a cleaner government? Make a smaller government to where we can look at them and we can understand exactly what they're doing. We can understand exactly when they're working within the confinements of the Constitution. And certainly right now, we know when they are going far above and beyond of where the restrictions were laid before them. But if we want to have the message that she says here, our passions were for healthcare, bigger paychecks, and a cleaner government. She says a simple message. Yes, the simple message is reduce the size of government. Reduce the size of government. Reduce the spending. Reduce the control. Reduce their ability to be ridiculous and nonsensical in the way that they have always been. But she thinks we do not engage in some other exuberances that exist in our party, a reference to some of the most ambitious plans advocated by the left wing of her party and some 2020 candidates, including Medicare for All and Green New Deal. She doesn't, so by this, pardon me, Medicare for All, she doesn't believe in. Good. Green New Deal, she doesn't believe in. She's been vocal against that. Good. Both of those ideas are the feel good. They're the feel good because they feel good. You think that they're going to be good. You think that they're going to be implemented in the right way. But then you forget that we still have Congress. We still have the President of the United States, regardless of whoever it is, regardless of who's in office at the time. It doesn't matter because it will never be good. It will never work in the way that it was intended to be implemented. It's not, it just doesn't work. It simply does not work. We've gone through plenty of the different countries that have implemented Medicare for All. We've torn apart at where the people are suffering because of it. We've gone through that. It's a matter of allowing for more competition, allowing for more people to find more places that want their business. But if you control the supply, and the demand gets too large, the government is too slow to increase the supply, and they can't do it while maintaining financial constrictions upon those markets. And so when the doctors lose the money, when the doctors aren't making as much money as they were before, when there's no desire for them to work harder for less money, they simply fold out and they leave. It's been tried and true every time through. When we look at the UK, when we look at Finland, right now, they're folding on their nationalized healthcare systems. They're trying to figure out how to move it back to the free market. When we look at Canada and their long-ass wait times, doesn't sound too good. When we look at Cuba, when we look at Puerto Rico, when we look at, Venezuela, all these places are not doing great. Their healthcare is in shambles. And it's only getting worse and worse. Oh, but the people are happy. The people don't know anything. Look at the empirical data. Look at the statistics on these things. It's a monster. It's a monster that's supposed to be a unicorn. Turns out, monsters are real. We see them all the time. They come into Congress. They talk to us. You see monsters all the time. People can easily be monsters, but nobody can be a unicorn. Nobody can be a unicorn. So Nancy Pelosi wants to have the Democrats feign to the center, feign to the left, or to the right of where they are. Put up a mask over yourself. Don't talk about the radicalness that you actually believe in, that you actually want to impose upon people through force, through extortion, through the threat of violence of the state. Don't be like that. Be soft and compassionate. Be unlike yourself, but be like the people that they want, not the people that they will get. Okay. I want to handle that real quick, Mike Blackbot. So you said, what were you saying? We should let the system stay the same. How does the drop prices for the average person? That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that there's many interventions within the medical system. So, for example, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Certificate of Needs. Certificate of Need is basically a system that was enacted back in the 70s at the federal level, and then within this 3 years, I think it was, they had removed at the federal level the Certificate of Need requirement. 36 states currently right now still have the certificate of need requirement. And that basically means that if you want to open up a medical facility, you have to provide the government with an application and say, I would like to provide healthcare, sir. If it pleases the crown, can I take care of the sick and the poor? And the government goes, all right, there's already a competitor there. Competitor, would you like to challenge this peasant? Would you like to prevent this peasant from opening up their markets? And then they open up the litigation, open up into the courtrooms, and they fight for years. They spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to open up healthcare, to provide you with the healthcare that your family could want and use. And by reducing the availability, reducing the amount of competitors into a market, allows those that are already within to have a somewhat of a monopoly, to be able to control, to be able to do as they see fit. And so you push out the smaller guys, you keep out the smaller guys, and you're just left with the big guys. Now imagine, right? I think everyone understands the problem with monopolies. Monopolies means that if you're the only supplier and there's a large demand, you can raise your rates as high as you want. You can have all the control you want within it. And just the certificate of need is just one small, tiny, minuscule aspect of the atrocities that have been legislated to guarantee that healthcare prices continue to climb and that competition does not thrive. This is wishful thinking. Big medical companies never cared for the average American. If they never cared, then they would never provide. And the problem is that big medical companies do provide, because if you provide one time, the next time that person gets sick, the next time that person gets hurt, they come back and they be another consumer once again. They continue to utilize that market. And so there isn't a single market out there that says we don't care about our consumers. It would be really stupid. Could you imagine if Boeing was like, we don't care about our passengers, we don't care about the safety, forget about the landing gear, don't worry about that, don't put brakes on it. You know what? We don't need a left wing. Once you're at like 20,000 feet, just the left wing pops off. It'll be fine. We don't care about them. We'll get more customers. Customers will keep coming back to us, I promise. Does that work? No. It doesn't really work. It's just not it's just not a well thought out idea to think that this is how any corporation or any entity would work. Now, you can talk about entities that have been protected and propped up by government where they don't have to care nearly as much, and I you can agree with that. But a company by itself that has to survive on its own would, of course, want to provide a better quality, as best of a quality that they can, and a better quality than those that they compete against. They want to do that. Everybody wants to do that. But yes. All right. All right, we hit the Nadler topic. All right, I'm just going to drop this one real quick. You can have the election stolen from you, says Hillary Rodham Clinton. Stolen from you. You can have the election stolen from you. She knows from experience after she stole from Bernie Sanders himself, as that has been well documented and well researched, that her involvement there within the DNC, basically being the cash cow, being able to supply the most money through the Hillary Clinton Foundation, to be able to assert her dominance over others, and to be able to say, you know what, guys, Bernie may be getting a lot of support, but we're gonna have to swindle this stuff. We're gonna have to change things up. Let's jostle up the rules a little bit, and to make sure that I become the nominee. She lost it, and now she's saying, look, elections can be stolen, guys. They can be stolen. They say it's a warning, but what she's saying is that she may come along and steal another person's election. I really think that it's a warning. It's a threat from her, But Hillary Clinton, what a wonderful gal that is. All right. Maduro. Let's go over to Venezuela. So Venezuela, the part where we've had angry, violent, revolting, and the Maduro regime and the military has been able to utilize their military force and their guns against the people that are unarmed, that are throwing rocks and bottles. Well, Maduro is tired of the fake news. So Venezuela's government has kicked CNN International off the air in Venezuela as President Nicolas Maduro attempts to quell an armed revolt led by opposition leader Juan Guaido. Conatel, the Venezuelan agency responsible for regulating telecom companies, ordered DirecTV, Net1, Intercable, and Telefonica to cut CNN International in English off the air Tuesday. CNN International had already been cut off months ago, Mediaite reports. So they're just making sure that this doesn't get out to the public. You can't let the atrocities that are happening at the ordering of himself and his generals to be aired out for the public because he doesn't want to be portrayed as a bad guy. I don't know much about Guaido, the opposition leader, the one that is being backed by the US and a couple others. He may be a bad guy. But Maduro is also a bad guy. We don't know enough about Juan. We just know that he's getting all the support right now. He may be slightly right of Nicholas, but in the end, they're both pretty bad people. But you can always see whenever you have a president, a leader, a dictator, whoever it is that is trying to shut down airwaves, trying to prevent information from being released, it's rarely in the best interest of the country or of the world. And in this instance, it is abundantly clear there's major fundamental issues over there. The wife was trying to call. All right. We're gonna get into Israel real quick, and then once we're done with Israel, we will. I'll open up the phone lines about midway through Israel and the Gaza attack. And if you guys want to call in, you guys got opinions on things that have been happening earlier on in the show or other topics you want to bring up, feel free to do so. So over the weekend, Friday night's coming down. People are raising the roof. They're having a good time, throwing down with the parties and whatnot. And Gaza says, hey, we going to be shooting some bombs. So the number of rockets fired from Hamas over the weekend by Sunday had totaled 600. Israel's Iron Dome defense had intercepted and neutralized at least 150 of them. That means that there's about 450 of them that were landing in random areas. While this was going on, this has been something that's been going on for months, for years, where you've had these bombing conflicts happening both ways, right? Israel's been bombing Hamas has been bombing Israel, and they've just been going at it. Israel did step up. Netanyahu, who was recently indicted for, what was it? It was some money laundering scheme. Netanyahu moved tanks and boots on the ground to the southern border to help protect his border, and he's been launching missiles air bombing, or he's been doing air bombs. Why am I forgetting the word? He's been doing airstrikes. There we go. He's been performing airstrikes down across Hamas. Now, during this time, right, people are getting blown up. People are getting killed. Here we go. 20 people, including 8 civilians, have been killed throughout the weekend in Gaza. There was a 37-year-old pregnant mother and her 14-month-old niece that was killed. 4 Israeli citizens have been killed. There's been killings on both sides of this conflict. And what we see from the media is picking one side or the other side. What we see is usually a blind eye whenever your side is the first to aggress and the other side is to retaliate. And usually, if your side is the one that aggressed, you go, well, the retaliation was much worse than the initial. I think that it's abundantly clear now that Hamas and Israel don't get along, that they both committed atrocities against the other, and they both have initiated attacks against the other. And they continue to open up more threats against the others, and they continue to... apologize for that noise. They continue to ramp up these attacks. Now, this is going to make it interesting. This is going to make it interesting for the future to see, is America going to get involved with Israel and help protect Israel, like what we would expect President Trump and Bolton to be in favor of? Are we going to stand idly by? Are we going to continue helping support through defensive measures? Unlike what we're doing with Saudi Arabia and Yemen, got to bring that up, of course, where we're actually helping out with the offensive. But that whole entire situation is certainly something that needs to be handled with a clear head and not taking your gut emotions in on it. I don't know. I understand that the Palestinians were taken out of Israel many years ago. They were kicked out through eminent domain, something that I believe is absolute theft and is immoral and destructive. And I know that it's in our Constitution. I still think that is wrong. And so I know that they just want their farmlands back. I know that they're there to try to get back what they believe is theirs. And Israel is saying, no, this is ours. And you just have this giant conflict and nobody's winning. Nobody's doing better. No one. It's just become a nonsensical hurricane of atrocities. Now, there was something I was told you guys I was going to cover tonight, and I didn't bring it up yet. But that is Donald Trump and China have been going at it. We've known that they've been going at it with the tariff wars, right? They've been both ramping up their tariffs for a while, approximately a year and a half ago. We've seen the outcomes of that, right? The cost to purchase your washers and dryers, the cost to purchase goods and things that were produced here in America or produced in China, those have gone up in price because of these tariffs. And there's a fundamental truth that comes to tariffs, and I hope that the Republicans, that Congress, that Democrats, that everyone can understand, is that a tariff is just a tax on the consumer. It's just a tax on the consumer. That's why when we tariffed on steel and everything else and included washers or washing machines to wash your laundry, that it increased not only the cost of washers that were made here in America, because now you have less competition, but it also increased the cost for dryers. What's going on, KK? Welcome in. So there's a big hubbub. There's a big issue. I won't call it a hubbub. There's a big issue with having these tariff wars. And now just recently, let me pull Donald Trump's tweets first. I only have a screenshot of his. Here we go. For 10 months, this is Donald Trump's tweet. For 10 months, China has been paying tariffs to the USA of 25% on $50 billion of high tech and 10% on $200 billion of other goods. These payments are partially responsible for our great economic results. Not really. The 10% will go up to 25% on Friday. $325 billion of additional goods sent to us by China remain untaxed, but it will be shortly at a rate of 25%. The tariffs paid to the US have little impact on product costs, mostly borne by China. The trade deal with China continues, but too slowly as they attempt to renegotiate. No. Now, here was Chuck Schumer's. Were you in the Freedom Tunes video? I don't believe I was. If I was, that would be interesting. That'd be cool if I'm getting like retweeted, rescoped, or whatever that's called onto other people's shows. So Chuck Schumer takes that and he retweets. He quote tweets President Trump. And he says, "Hang on, China. Hang tough on China, President Trump. Don't back down. Strength is the only way to win with China." Now, there's many different ways that you can read this. There's many different ways that you could take this and you could say, look, Chuck Schumer's finally standing with President Trump on something. This is great. This is beautiful. Well, I have to point out to you that he was standing with him last week for negotiations on spending $2 trillion, in which they both were just raising the number up to $2 trillion to spend on infrastructure. But here's another instance where you could look at that and you could say, yeah, he's on board with Trump. Fight hard against China. Get these. Let's knock out these tariffs. Let's get this out of here. Let's make this better for America. You can also look at this, and this is how I took it as. This was my tweet. He knows that there's no quote unquote winning from this. To keep poking the beast can lead to more than just an economic conflict. It will also make it clear to all Americans that these tariffs are being paid by them, not China. Schumer is busy looking at 2020. So, economic conflict. If we continue down effectively a Cold War, we can progress into a Cold War where we're trying to have trade wars with other countries and trying to isolate ourselves from China, and China isolates themselves from us, and we have this giant building block of both countries trying to build up as much as they can in order to outmatch the other one. America's not going to win that one. China has been too strong on being able to steal intellectual property, being able to steal technology, to be able to grow and produce things at a higher rate than us. They have a much larger population than us. They have less controls over their commerce, over their economy. So they are essentially have their hands untied for this. Meanwhile, because we live in the United States, despite the fact that we claim that we have the most freedom, economically we do not. So there's the conflict there. If it goes beyond just an economic conflict, and then it turns into a war, if we actually start somehow threatening the livelihood of China through trade wars and through sanctions and all of this, then we go to war. Not a good time, right? That may be the more extreme, that may be the more hyperbolic stance. But that's not a good issue. That's not a good time. And when it comes to these tariffs, the tariffs have already stolen, I think it was like 1.5% of the GDP. It's stolen from us. Stolen from us by the decisions of our commander-in-chief, of our president of the United States. And that's not going to get better. Raise the tariffs, that just steals more GDP from us. That steals more productivity from us. We lose out on the trade altogether. Can America provide all that it needs? No, it cannot. We may finally be a larger exporter than we are an importer, but at the same time, we do not have the capacity. Look at our unemployment numbers, the numbers that President Trump likes to boast about, and certainly they're worth boasting about a little bit. But those numbers show that we don't have a large workforce available to jump in and pull up their sleeves and handle an economic race. We don't have the capacity. And so there's really no, I wouldn't say there's really a good way of looking at this tariff war. I was genuinely hoping that the last time that they looked like they were dying out, that they were going to give up on this, that was going to be the end of this. I was hoping that would have been the case. But it looks like, tensions are rising once again. Conflicts are growing. And not just with China. I'm wondering because just last week, there was a report from South Korea saying that Pyongyang, over there in North Korea, was firing off missiles. So now it looks like North Korea is getting back into things. President Trump had made kind of he tried to resolve that by speaking about Kim Jong-un, saying, he's not coming out here to do this. He's kind of telling him out the side of his mouth, you don't want to do this. And so you have North Korea kind of acting up. You've got China now acting up. You've got Russia getting involved over there in Venezuela. Tensions are rising around the world. And I think Trump is ready to double down and put on the fisticuffs. He's ready to throw down. And this is, if we go there, we go there. I don't know how this is going to do for 2020. This might be something you might want to hold on to until you get your second presidency, President Trump. You might want to hold on until you get elected again. Too near, too close to the next election for you to be playing this way if you want to have your second term as president of the United States. But so I got the phone number up there, guys. If you guys want to call in, feel free to call in. Oh, my camera is really high today, huh? If you guys want to call in, you guys feel free to call in. The phone number is 802-671-5328. Feel free to call in. If you guys got topics, concerns, questions, or opinions that differ from mine, and I'm sure that many of you do, feel free to call in. 802-671-5328. But I'm sure I've got one more story that I can cover with you guys real. and then we'll wrap this up. Like I said, we might be getting out of here a little early tonight. A lot to cover, not enough as normal. Oh, yes. Here was one that I wanted to cover with you guys. We will actually pull up. We will give you guys the full screen of it. Actually, I'll if you guys look on this picture, you can see this woman right here. Oh, that is the wrong button. If you guys look on the screen now that I've finally clicked the correct button, you can see this woman, she is pregnant. What happened over the weekend was that, well, here, I will just read you guys the article. This is from Squiggly Line Guy. If you guys don't know who Squiggly Line Guy is, he's a fantastic guy living out in the Pacific Northwest, holding on to the strands, or to the reins of liberty in communist Northwest. If you thought the struggle in Venezuela was limited to just Venezuela, you'd be wrong. Demonstrations have been ongoing at the Venezuelan embassy in Washington, D.C. Venezuelans in America who support the Guaido coup against Maduro have been protesting at the embassy. A group called Code Pink has been counter-demonstrating in favor of maintaining the Maduro regime. Code Pink is a group that bills itself as anti-war and pro-socialism. So I suppose it makes sense that this group would oppose Venezuelans who want to overthrow a socialist dictator. Code Pink is largely a female-driven group, but there are male members who presumably virtue signal in hopes of getting laid. We all know those guys. One such member, a white male and tolerant leftist who champions women and minorities, decided to mansplain to a Venezuelan girl about how she was wrong in regards to the Venezuelan coup staged by Guaido. Except he didn't really explain anything. He physically assaulted her instead. The girl, Mariana Umiana, is 27 weeks pregnant with a very visible and beautiful baby bump. But that didn't stop this white male leftist from physically attacking her over her support of the coup being staged in her own country of origin. When you are willing to attack a woman who is pregnant, visibly pregnant, it just speaks so loudly about your character, about your values, and about your principles. I can't say that you can't even speak fondly of this guy in any appreciable way. A disgusting individual, and was taken down by the cops pretty violently, and I wouldn't say violently, probably a bad word. He was taken down by the cops and detained and arrested, and of course, others within the Code Pink movement, those in favor of the socialist Maduro, they had many things to say, and none of them were coherent, logical, or based in the truth of what was going on in that situation. But with that, guys, I'm going to wrap up the show. For the rest of the week, it looks like, if I'm not wrong, we are going to have a full week once again. So tonight's Monday night, of course, you had it with me, Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth. Tuesday night, you're going to have Spike and Matt on Muddy Waters of Freedom. You'll find them here on Periscope, on YouTube, on Facebook. You'll find them also on our podcasts. You can find us on Anchor. You can find us on Stitcher, on Apple. Find us on wherever you normally get your podcast from, where you can take us on the go. And make sure you guys leave us a 5-star review so that we can get found out, and you guys can help market us in that way. Send us a review. Whatever you want to give us 5 more than that. So if you want to give us 5, I think 5 is the limit. So just throw it down with a 5-star review. Write something nice about us. Say you like the beard. Say you like the Matt, the Spike, whatever it is that you enjoy about the show. Just leave us a 5-star review. Help us out. I would appreciate that. We all would. But then after that, you got Wednesday night, and that's going to be My Fellow Americans. I do believe Spike is returning back to his fantastic show of bringing on guests and bringing them over to the side of liberty. And then Thursday night, of course, is the Writer's Block, and then finishing it off Friday nights with me, Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. So thank you guys all for coming out tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope you enjoyed everything that came your way. And with that, guys, I bid you all adieu, and I hope to see you guys throughout the week on the different streams. And take care, and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. I'll play the song one more time. How about that? Uh-oh. Oh, that's why.
2 shotguns. At my home,
There we go.
they're locked in a safe. There's a metal gun case. We live in an area that's wooded, somewhat secluded. And I said, Jill, if there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony and fire 2 blasts outside the house.
Great song.
Buy
Great
a
song.
shotgun. Buy a shotgun. You don't need a machine gun. You don't need 30 rounds. Buy a shotgun. Buy a double-barrel shotgun.
No, you don't need a flamethrower, and you don't need a tank, and you don't need an AR-15 to scare those thugs away. No, and I don't need a grenade launcher. I don't need an F-15. There's just one thing I need to do, and they'll stay away from me.
Fire 2 blasts outside the house. Buy a shotgun.
Buy a shotgun.
Buy a shotgun.
Jill, buy a shotgun, baby.
You don't need a machine
You
gun.
don't need a machine
You don't
gun.
need 30
Way
rounds.
too many
Buy a
rounds.
shotgun. Buy a double-barrel shotgun.
Y'all have a great week, and I'll see you guys on Friday.